Hi everyone, welcome back to Writer's Dream Coach. I'm really glad you're here. I'm Falco Möbius, German EFT practitioner, therapist, coach, and writer. And today I'm going to talk about a bad habit that some writers, or actually a lot, have developed, which is that instead of creating a daily writing habit, they are waiting for inspiration. They're waiting for the muse to talk to them. And yes, it's awesome when it happens, when you get fired up with a great new idea, when you get filled with inspiration and just want to jump up and write. That is awesome. It happens. But you can't rely on it to happen if you want to have a steady kind of production, if you want to build possibly a career around your writing, if you want to create some income. There is little worse you can do than waiting for inspiration. In fact, the opposite is true. If you write regularly, inspiration will happen a lot more often. How does that work? It's quite simple, really. When you get into the habit of writing, and I've been doing that for the last 4 weeks, quite on purpose, quite consciously, when you're getting into a writing habit, you're releasing and you're reducing any kind of resistance you might develop to, getting started, which is a hurdle for many writers, just to sit down, open the file, get started. Once you make that a habit, it takes a lot less energy to get started. It takes a lot less energy to actually create those first 2, 3, 4 sentences before the words start flowing. So making writing a habit is extremely useful if you want to keep creating books. Simple as that. The other thing that daily writing does for you is that you immerse yourself in your story. You basically go visit your friends every day. That's what it is. You visit your world every day. And even if you're writing literary novels, your fictional world is not the real world. So you go there and visit. Which means that your brain is used to thinking about the story. You know your characters, like you know good friends that you see regularly. And you no longer have to reconnect every time you write. You can dive into your story because you are living in it every day. Much easier to keep writing. And just sitting there and waiting for inspiration is not going to help with that. In fact, what I notice, again, I've had times where I was writing like mad for hours every day, and of course inspiration flowed. That was awesome and easy, and I've never quite gotten back into that, but instead I've matured in my writing and I've made conscious choices to create habits around my writing. And right now I'm in the process of creating a daily writing habit again. I will have to add the daily editing and formatting habit, which is really part of building a business as an author. But what I was trying to explain is, if you start writing, if you reduce the resistance to starting, if you are familiar with the story, you're inside your story, you know that plot, and you know the voice of your characters, you know how they think, you know how they feel, you know their fears and joys and love, and it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to keep spinning that story on, which means that your creative brain has more brain power left. So, and with that additional brain power, it can create the inspiration. It can create new plot ideas, plot twists that you would not have thought about um, early on, and that wouldn't have appeared if you had just, sat there waiting for inspiration. That is, I mean, I don't want to denigrate that, but if all you do is sit and wait for inspiration, you might as well be waiting for Godot. I'm sorry to say it that harshly. You have to learn to write even when you're not inspired. Once you do that, once you reach that kind of habit, once you reach that level of professionality, even that you sit down and write every day, then inspiration will actually come while you write. That is something a lot of authors don't know, especially if you're a beginner, if you just have the story in your mind, you want to put it out, and you get stuck on details and you have a hard time, making it all congeal. Um, Typical beginner problems, which is just part of the learning curve. Don't let that stop you. The biggest, um, I'm sorry, what I'm trying to say is the biggest experience you need to make and the biggest thing you need to know is that inspiration comes when you write. So you have to turn it around. Don't wait for inspiration. Write and inspiration comes. Don't wait for inspiration before you write. Write and inspiration comes. That's the whole secret. That's the reason for me pounding you about writing every day. That's the reason why I have a daily topic called "Did You Write Today?" in my Facebook group. It's it's to create the kind of encouragement and the kind of accountability that helps you write every day. And I'm offering a word count file. That is the simplest tool. Create a word count file, Excel or LibreOffice or whatever you want to use. Put in a date, put in a line or a column for your daily word count. I have several columns for the works in progress that I'm working on, so I can kind of keep track which one is actually growing. I have also columns for monthly sums and weekly sums, so I can actually see how productive I am in a particular week. And I have, of course, a big column for the grand total, and I'm going to reach 100,000 words for this year, which isn't a lot if you're a professional writer. 30,000 of these words will have been written in the last 5 weeks. That's the speed I'm developing, and I'm actually doing more than 1,000 words a day right now. I'm creating that habit. It's making me a much happier author. It's making me a much more productive author, and it's giving me a lot more inspiration. So give up that waiting. I know authors who need this, but for most, it's simply an excuse not to write. So bite that bullet, open your file, do it now, and write. And it doesn't matter what kind of goal you're setting to yourself. Start with something that is easy, maybe 500 words per day. If you touch type, that can be done in 20 to 30 minutes. I mean, if I'm in the flow, I can write 1,000 words in 30 minutes, and 30 minutes per day is not a huge time investment to regularly create stories and create a reasonable output for your author career. So start with 500. Start with 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Use a timer if you have to. But do get into that habit to write every day. Yes, If life gets really hard, you can take a day off. But don't break your habit. Keep doing that, and you will be a much happier writer. You will have much more joy, and your stories will come alive. That's the thing. If you pick up a story once a month, you'll have to first reread the last 5 chapters to know what you've been doing. Then you might add, kind of struggling and hating it, possibly add 1,000 words. It'll take you 2 to 3 hours to do so, just because you need to reacquaint yourself with the whole story and the names and what people look like. And then you do it and you struggle and you're unhappy and you'll let it go for another 2, 3 weeks before you try again. Don't give yourself that heartache. If you want to be an author, if you enjoy creating stories, go for daily writing. Even if it's not a lot per day, it's going to pile up. I'm saying this really simply. 1,000 words a day will get you 60,000 words in 2 months. That's a novel. It's not a huge, big, whopping novel, but it's a novel by definition. That'll leave you 1 month to edit, and then you can do what it takes to get it published. Imagine that. And I mean, you can write the next novel during that month, You can sort of stack this and streamline this. But even if you don't, you could get out 4 novels a year. Imagine that. There's a thing called 20 books to 50K, which means how to use 20 books that you've written in order to create an income. If you put out 4 books a year, this is going to take you 5 years. Not a whole lot of time to create an income that could, if you keep writing, you don't even have to keep writing at the same pace. But if you keep writing, this is going to support you for the rest of your life. And it starts with a daily writing habit, and possibly committing to writing 1,000 words per day. I use EFT to do that. And there's actually a class I'm teaching in August, how to use EFT to help you write 1,000 words per day. The information is on my website. Just look at tapping into 1K. It's on the menu. If you find that you have particularly strong resistance to writing every day, consider working with me. We can release that. It's a belief. If you want more information, send me an email. It's below. Oh, there's a comment section. My email is there. I'll happily talk about how I can support you in your journey as an author and make life a lot easier for you as well. Make writing a lot happier and a lot more fun. And now excuse me because I want to go back to my story. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.